This
Good evening.
conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome everyone to our Special Olympics Montana overview of the Global Strategic Plan for 2021 and 2024. Presenting today is Vicki Donisart, myself, CEO of SOMT, along with Bill Salonen, Senior Director of Innovation. Today we will be sharing this strategic plan overview from Special Olympics International. We are going to begin this presentation with a rationale. Why would an organization take time to construct a strategic plan? Well, I'd like you to think about a home builder that you know. Before a contractor or builder begins building, he goes through a very extensive planning process with all the building experts and his clients. They look at every single detail from beginning to end and they map it out so they have a very intentional focus and a very intentional direction. If a builder did not have that plan, it would be easy to take a catwalk and not reach the final destination or the intended purpose for the product. So why did we ask and invite folks to join us? We would love to have you, one, see the overview from this big overview and lens from SOI, but we're also going to ask you to join us to become actively involved to share your ideas for the vision and the future for Special Olympics Montana.
Well, again, thank you for joining us tonight. We want to start tonight by just reminding everyone of what Special Olympics is all about. And if you look at this slide with me, you'll see over on the left our mission. Our mission is to provide year-round sports training and athletic competition in a variety of Olympic-style sports for children and adults with intellectual disabilities, giving them continuing opportunities to develop physical fitness, demonstrate courage, experience joy, and participate in the sharing of gifts, skills, and friendship with their families and other Special Olympic athletes in the community. Excuse me. I'm really happy to have Jamie and Scott with us because as they represent our sports department, sports is still the centerpiece of what we do. But we've grown over the past several years to include year-round fitness, health education, and our schools. If you look at our vision, which is right in the center there, our vision is an inclusive world for all, driven by the power of sport, through which people with intellectual disabilities live active, healthy, and fulfilling lives. Personally, I like the words fulfilling lives at the end, especially in terms of athlete leadership. And you're going to really see athlete leadership represented here in this strategic plan. And the goal is to give leadership opportunities to our athletes within the movement. And that's certainly a direct direction that we're taking with our athlete ambassadors, which is a group of athletes that then serve on our athlete input council. They become development messengers and our health messengers. So this is a busy slide here. It's a busy page in terms of the amount of text, but you know, we just celebrated our 50th anniversary here at SOMT. And so we want to start by just celebrating the past 50 years and then just take some time to look forward to the next 50 years. So if you'll look at that boldface print there in black, it says the first 50 years of the Special Olympics movement made it the most prominent sports organization in the world, working towards full inclusion of people with intellectual disabilities in society. And building on the previous strategic plan, there are two key ingredients to our success: frequent opportunities for training, physical activity, and improvement of health for participants, and then meaningful social interactions between people with and without disabilities on and off the sports field. You know, when I think of, again, the goal of including our athletes, that's the favorite part of what I get to do, is interacting with our athletes. And I know the rest of the staff members that are present tonight would echo that same thing. but that's really exciting for us to look at. But let's look at this red box here about what is changing. It says, based on the consultations in an environment of unprecedented global change, over the next 4 years, we will refocus our work in sport and fitness at the local level as the key way to achieve social change through community building activities, trainings, and games. And I should ask Jamie and Scott to jump in here, but the sports department has already started the process of building quality sports competitions at the local level. They're combining the efforts, or we're combining the efforts now with sports and health to increase what we're doing with increasing our coaches' knowledge, their coaches' training. And so lots of neat things that are happening in sports, and I'll talk more about that and what's been happening in the virtual world here in just a second. Number 2, act on our commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion through hiring and outreach to marginalized communities. We're doing this right now as well. We've hired Joni Bowman as our tribal outreach coordinator on the Flathead Indian Reservation, and we've hired additional outreach staff to support local programs over this last year. We have extended programming in our rural communities. One example from health that I can think of is that we had Karen Burdett do a Fit 5 class up in Conrad last winter. And so just trying to extend some of our programming into those rural areas. Number 3, digitize the movement to find innovative ways to expand our activities for greater impact. Boy, there have been a lot of firsts over this last year in sports. Last spring we started with our virtual state summer games, followed by our fall basketball challenge and our bowling blitz. The same is true in health. We are currently doing a 6-week Strong Minds class to support athletes with their emotional and mental health. We did our virtual training in our Healthy Athletes arena. We've got some of those even going on next week with our health promotion discipline. We've had Zumba classes and dance parties and cooking demonstrations. So lots of things happening there. In the development area, we did virtual polar plunges this year. And we had, excuse me, that slide just advanced there real quick. I'm sorry about that. Along with the polar plunges that we did, we've got virtual torch run. So lots of things on the way here in that one. Number 4, become a truly athlete-led movement by adopting a unified leadership approach where people without ID learn from and empower people with ID. And so this year we identified 50 athlete ambassadors to kind of correlate with our 50th anniversary. And as I mentioned before, then they are serving on our input council as development messengers and health messengers. And I think when I read this too, in terms of leadership, I think of our Unified Champion Schools program with 61 schools registered right now. They have 5 SO colleges, Special Olympic colleges, 6 young athlete locations. And those of you that are new to young athletes, that's serving students from age 2 through 7 before they officially enter Special Olympics. And so they're doing a lot of work. They started with 1 young athletes program at the beginning of the year and now are up to 6. And then lastly on this screen, to increase our local program capacity to implement our work with a focus on results using evaluation. I see we've got a little typo there on the screen. To increase our efforts, I think is something along that line there. This really is a focus of our outreach department right now. They have done some extensive annual planning and goal setting that's currently happening with each of our outreach coordinators and our area management teams. And some more to come on that one in just a second as well.
All right, so this slide also has quite a bit of quite a few words and lots of pictures here. So I'm going to do my best to describe this. So if we go over to the right side, it begins with the vision. Our vision is an inclusive world for all, driven by the power of sport, through which people with intellectual disabilities live an active and healthy and fulfilling life. So that is the overarching vision for this strategic plan. If you go down to the bottom, I'm going to then take you here to the base. This base is like the base of any kind of house. It has the diversify revenue, it has build the brand, and drive the excellence. So that piece is the base. This piece in the middle is the heart. I call it the heart of this whole strategic plan. It has two different goals, and it also has strategies here, and then they do call these enablers. They have lots of different names. We had to adjust as a staff as well. So if you start with the first goal, it is to improve the local sport participation and well-being to strengthen communities. Overarching goal. Goal B is to remove any barriers to inclusion and expand each through digital technology. The pieces here, 1, 2, and 3, and our enablers are where we're going to really break down tonight and share those, give you an overview, and that is where our real work will begin. So the first strategy is improve quality and reach of local programming. Number 2 is empower athlete leaders and other change makers. Number 3 is foster inclusive practices and settings. And again, digitize our movement, diversify revenue, build the brand, and drive the excellence. So even though there's lots of names here, you can see where the heart of our work will be. And this piece here with the vision and the goals, that's our overarching goal. All right, we're going to begin on the next slide here, and we're going to go right to strategy number 1. This strategy is to improve quality and the reach of local programming. I'm going to read the bold piece right here because it has a lot of meat and a lot of value. Special Olympics will focus on sustainable development of local programming that benefits everyone in the community. This means focusing on the organization and expansion of activities in diverse urban and rural communities to enable lifelong athlete involvement in quality sports as participants and leaders, and actively promote healthy lifestyles and inclusion of people with ID. And then it goes on to say, we will. And so it gives us 5 different areas. And if we were to show you the exact template tonight, it would be broken down into a spreadsheet. But they immediately, they'll break it down into this first one, which is strengthen and grow local structures. As Bill alluded to earlier, one of our pieces that we've really been trying to work on is strengthening our outreach staff and making sure that we provide a lot of support to our local areas. So our goal has been over the last 2 years to put an outreach coordinator in each of the communities to be there to really support and strengthen. Our goal is that we have Mandy and we also have our sports team that are really trying to support our area management teams, our competition coordinators, our LPCs, and our coaches. So our goal is to take our support out to the field. And Ellen, I'm hoping that that is making you smile because our goal is we want to be here to support and do the very best we can to serve those out in the community. Number 2, I love this one, and I'm going to brag a little bit about Scott because they talk about enhancing the skills of coaches. And the best way to improve quality is to improve your coaching staff and those that are involved directly with the athletes. We believe this is true. So Scott and Jamie have been working to develop coaches trainings where the coaches can earn certification and learn the overall techniques and the skills necessary to do to coach well and to make it quality play for the athletes as well. Number three, it talks about in expanding those local partnerships and trainings. So improve the frequency and quality of sports and training and competitions, fitness, healthy habits, social and emotional well-being. Number four is that building of local partnerships. Most recently, as we've shifted to our state summer games, we were going to be live in Bozeman, but we're moving to that state summer games across Montana. However, as we started into the planning for state summer games for 2021, we really did work hard to begin developing partnerships with the businesses, with the schools, with our volunteers and our teams in that area. So some examples are First Interstate Bank, Murdoch's, Town Pump, the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation, just to name a few. And there are a lot more businesses and partners that we have in the Bozeman area. That is our goal, to expand the partnership, to expand that mission and the excitement and the vision. When you get down to the bottom here on number 5, it talks about, again, leveraging health programming for the well-being of the athletes in the community year-round, and Bill touched on a few of those. So we do really feel like we've got an approach that is sports and health driven.
Oops. All right, I get to talk about the second strategy, which is entitled Empower Athlete Leaders and Other Change Makers. And as I said before, you know, this is at the heart of what we do. It's such a worthy goal. Interacting with our athlete leaders is just the best part of my day. If you look at the bold-faced print at the top, it says Special Olympics will enhance the knowledge and skills of families, unified partners, students, teachers, coaches, health workers, and other volunteers so that they adopt inclusive behaviors and influence others to do the same. Enabling the voice and building the capacity of athletes and young leaders will drive this work and ensure that they have meaningful leadership roles and play an active role in educating other change makers. So if we look at this first one, increase the capacity of all key audiences to improve and promote inclusive health and well-being by investigating inappropriate training opportunities and support. You know, with the onset of COVID-19, we started revamping programming right away. Almost a year ago, it was on March 24th, we started our virtual training program, which provided health and fitness programming twice a week. We did that from March to December, involving several of our athletes and staff and doing workouts and health talks on nutrition and hydration. We've used our athlete leaders for health messenger training, which is the training of athletes to become advocates for health. And then I mentioned the Strong Minds class. Sports, boy, talk about innovation. I mentioned the virtual state summer games last spring. They went right from there into planning then our fall basketball challenge, our bowling blitz, and they're currently gearing up now for this year's state summer games. Number 2 there says to expand unified champion schools to improve social inclusion and physical activity through sport and inclusive youth development programming, and grow a unified generation of inclusive thinkers through building networks of key influencers. We last June hired a director for our Unified Champion Schools program, and it's just been so exciting to watch Jeanette Gray just start getting a real passion and growing the UCS program across the state. And so I think we're really going to see some great things. We've already this year seen some great things, but continue to see some really fine things happening with our school age students and the programs in our schools. We have worked to do unified track and sports. Some of our folks in UCS started a Young Readers Challenge program this fall, and that the schools are really enjoying that. So some nice growth, like I mentioned before, in that young athletes program as well. Number three, increase the number of athletes with internal roles and jobs to demonstrate their ability to lead by adopting the unified leadership approach, identifying and adapting roles and supporting athletes to lead. You know, our athletes make such an impact when they are leading other athletes. You know, currently I have two athletes that are helping facilitate our Strong Minds class that we're doing on Monday evenings. And they are doing such a great job, and the buy-in that we get then from other athletes when they see one of their peers leading out is so powerful. And so we have also hired athletes here in our main office that acknowledge donors and write gratitude cards, uh, things like that. So we hope to see more of that as we move into the future as well. And the last one here, to showcase talents of youth, including students and athletes as teachers of inclusion to drive positive change on and off the playing field by creating interactions between athletes and youth and external groups. You know, I just think of the athletes that we've utilized over this last year. I think of when Jamie and Scott did the press conference for state summer games, and Ruth Spinelli joined them to speak and bring that athlete voice to the presentation. I think of Josh Anderson, an athlete who spoke at our inclusion rally last March. Um, don't know if you saw KRTV News this past week, but we had a couple of athletes you know, that were highlighted as we talked about our Stride Challenge that we're doing right now. And so our Athlete of the Year, Betsy Schaefer, was just doing a taping today that'll be forthcoming. So so nice to be able to utilize the skills of those athletes out in the media and in our social media areas.
So Special Olympics that wants to work towards targeted government entities and organizations from at the global and local levels to tackle injustice and inequality and create more access to services and opportunities for people with ID. It is our role, we believe at SOMT, to join SOI in this vision. There are some opportunities for us to step forward to speak out at the local and state government levels with officials about diversity, inclusion, health, and access to services, easier access to services. This week was a great example when Rhonda McCarty and Betsy Schaefer attended Capitol Hill Days. So they spoke to Senator Steve Daines and Senator John Tester and Representative Matt Rosendale about health programming and Unified Champion schools. They had great visits with them. Just that simple little half-hour block with each of our representatives or congressmen, we believe makes a difference. They truly get to experience interaction with the athlete and also listen to things that are very important initiatives to us. In the first one, they talk about influencing the development of inclusive sport, health, and education systems. With this, we have our Healthy Communities grant that we started well, actually, we've gone on 3 years. We're heading into or finishing up with our third year. And that intentional focus for health has been to reduce that chronic disease, promote ongoing health screenings, and promote healthy living year round. It does work hand in hand with sports and competition. We have the Healthy Athletes screenings that has been another way to involve our universities and our private and nonprofit health organizations. They touch on that in number 2. These screenings provide volunteer opportunities, but they also are a way for future healthcare providers to gain strength and learn and to have that one-on-one interaction with athletes with intellectual disabilities. Also, one of our priorities has been to participate in USA and World Games by sending athletes, coaches, and we're hoping to send a we've sent unified partners. We're hoping to send maybe a unified coach coming up here. we think this is another way to provide a catalyst opportunity for change, not only for the athletes and the coaches and the people that participate, but also to bring in new donors and partners so they can see the movement on a more global basis.
So I want to bring you back to this slide that Vicki shared earlier, just with this graphic. We've talked about now these three strategies that you see at the top portion, and we're going to move now to what are called enablers. And there's four enablers here, and they really support these strategies here at the top. And so they're listed down below: digitize the movement, diversify revenue, build the brand, and drive excellence. So we'll talk about how these enablers now help us to achieve our goals. So I'll talk about the first enabler here, which is to digitize the movement. And it says Special Olympics will ensure people with ID and the Special Olympics movement are not left behind as societies embrace technology. We have a golden opportunity to significantly increase the reach and effectiveness of our work using digital solutions that meet the future demands of our existing stakeholders, enable us to connect with millions more athletes, families, and coaches. Well, we all know here, think of what COVID-19 has led us to do here. We wouldn't be operating in this virtual or digitized world without the pandemic near to the degree that we are right now. Mandy Patriarch and others have made sure that our programming really hasn't missed a beat. And as we look at returning to in-person activities and events, we certainly don't want to lose what we've gained over this past year. And so we know that we'll continue to use a virtual platform to reach athletes here. I'm not going to read all of these to you right now. I'll let you kind of just look at this screen, but I do want to just bring your attention to number one. Innovate through creating digital platforms and introducing entirely new approaches to programming, fundraising, and operations. I smiled when I read that phrase, introducing entirely new approaches. Talk about innovation in terms of that digital realm again. From sports to health to, like I mentioned before, virtual polar plunges to our MTN Chevy raffle. We're honoring sponsors on Facebook. We used our website to honor and Facebook to honor our 50th anniversary influencers. And so the team has really worked hard to keep programming happening for our athletes, as well as keeping people connected to Special Olympics Montana through a digital format.
Another one of the foundational pieces is ensuring that the revenue stream is available to support all of the programming that we want to do. And so globally speaking, SOMT and SOI want to add new ways to raise funds and create this cohesive global and local fundraising effort and goal through some different strategies. And we'll touch on those. Also, a strategic approach to generating fresh, diverse revenue that will enable us to continue this funding stream. So with the first section there, it talks about that global to local fundraising. One of the big pieces here is setting up a goal system and also spreading that awareness and inspiring giving. We truly believe, as you can even see from the picture there, the more that our team of athletes can be out, they can be interacting and be mainstreamed and included into the public, the more that message can spread and inspire others. We also, it talks about reaching the mass markets, the government and granting agencies. one of the things that we are doing right now is we have a team that looks at possible grants and does it align to our current programming and would it help us move the movement forward? And so we have a team in our development department that is working on grants. We have several people right now writing multiple grants. Recently, we just completed a government survey too. They asked us how often do we apply for government funds and do we receive funds from them? Just for your information, the majority of our funding comes from fundraising and not necessarily from government entities. And that is different in some organizations. However, we do receive funding for our health and Unified Champion schools through grant funding that comes through our government. But the majority of our funding is through fundraising. So they also talk about developing allocation protocols. So once those funds are raised, how are they allocated out? How is that money? How can that money go out to the field? How should it go out to our sporting events? And really having a financial plan for raising funds, raising and building relationships, and then also making sure it's getting allocated out to the right spots in our organization. So currently our development team, I would describe them as workhorses. They are super hard workers and we have a very active finance council that's part of our board of directors. So I have the joy of getting to work with them. I have the joy of working with the development team and also have the joy of watching our spending go in and out. We monitor all expenses, all of our expenditures. We have an audit coming up and I meet regularly with the accountant to look at our different bank accounts just to make sure we're double checking all of our work that's being done and we're just making sure that we're following all of our necessary guidelines. Proud of the work we're doing and proud of the ethics that we have in place with our staff too. So besides all of this, we do have an NXT bank, donor bank that we recently purchased with the goal of building up our donors and all of our partners and our volunteers and building it into a system where we can track those different conversations and also track donations and also value in kind or gift in kind. So again, our goal is to continue to provide funding where needed so we can continue to build out our movement. As you probably heard, and you know of Bob Norby, who's been working super hard to build our endowment. Most recently at our last meeting, he's nearing 7 million in the endowment with pledges and some part of his current account or amount in the account. And his goal is eventually to get to 10 million. It's definitely a lofty goal, but the whole goal behind that is that funding that would come back on the principal would be able to go back in to our bank and we can actually be able to allocate that money out to our field and to our programming in each of our areas. So this is an area that definitely is ongoing. Lots of work, lots of constant attention, but there's already a lot of great work in place. And we do believe with the board of directors that we have and our current sponsors and donors, we are a healthy organization.
Right. The third enabler here, build the brand. When we think about this here, Special Olympics will increase awareness of the brand globally through existing and innovative digital and traditional channels to enhance relevance and influence while attracting more people and new audiences, especially at the community level. This means that when someone sees the Special Olympics logo, they recognize our mission and they connect our mission to quality sports events, health programming, and leadership opportunities. And so it means that all of our work is branded, that it's of high quality and has a far-reaching audience. We have a great team here. Heather Wendell, Mandy Patriarch, Scott Held, who's with us tonight. They're really guiding this goal. And And I won't again read all of these to you right now, but look at number 4 with me. Again, just the use of athletes to brand and share the message of inclusion. I'm excited to see that here, and excited just to be pursuing that with our athletes.
All right, and our last one here that we will be talking about is the drive for excellence. So empowered people and an enabling work environment are crucial factors that determine the success of programs and promote excellence in sports, health, and youth leadership. We must improve how we recruit, work with the diverse staff, coaches, volunteers, and ensure that they have the tools and skills necessary to achieve the commitment to excellence in program delivery. So they touch on transformation of global to local leadership, developing capacity and sustainability, and create that one movement culture. So this piece really, what we will be spending a lot of time looking at, not a lot of time, but we'll be spending discussion time talking about diversity. How do we weave that into not only our staff, but our board of directors and our volunteers and our teams? They give some good strategies and some ideas about recruiting, training, and developing board of directors. And they also really encourage us to hire some of the best folks we can to be able to help sustain this mission and help our folks out in the field. So as an organization, we are looking at our leadership opportunities both for athletes and our volunteers. And our goal is to provide tools, training, and structure. We believe that overall with this whole strategic planning process, this gives us we have an excellent start. And as you can tell, we've shared with you some things that we already have identified as, I think we're doing these well. Let's keep going with these. This strategic plan also gives us a chance to look back over the last few years, look at our previous strategic plan, look at last year, what were we successful at, and then now look at this strategic plan going forward. Where do we want to be 4 years from now? So part of the conversations are how do we take this it's kind of complicated, but it's a very exciting strategic plan. How do we take that forward? And Bill, I'll go ahead and have you advance to the next slide. So as I shared earlier, tonight was meant to be an informational session. It was meant to give you an overview, share the language, introduce some of the terms to you, and again, share things that we feel like we've identified that we're doing pretty well. And those were actually very general. As a staff, what we've already started doing is breaking down each section of the strategic plan. And we've assigned different staff and different teams to these pieces, and they're identifying and going through and identifying what's worked well, what do we need to continue, and try to help narrow the focus a little bit. What we would like to do for our next step is once we've disseminated this information about the strategic plan out, what we'd like to do is have stakeholders like yourselves join our team if you are interested. What this would look like is we would ask stakeholders to join staff to kind of look at this view, and we've tried to narrow it down so it's a more palatable, chunked down version so it's understandable, but also we're looking at it from a standpoint that could we attain these goals? Could we reach these goals? One mistake we don't want to make is having too many goals and strategic plans or ideas, or having too many goals and then not be able to fulfill them all. So we really are working with staff right now to kind of narrow that focus a little bit. And so tonight we'd like to open it up to anyone that might be interested in working with our team to do a deep dive into those different sections. Our goal is that we would begin to select folks during this time in months and also ask for volunteers to come forward. And also then March and May, there'll be different targeted work sessions where there'll be some time to really do a deep dive. Our goal is by the time we get to the end of May, first part of June, We then have each of these sections, they come back together. We meet as our leadership team comes back together and we start putting these together. And what our goal would be then is to write a strategic plan and into a draft form. We would then bring that draft form back out as soon as we get that written in the summer to all the stakeholders involved. And then we'll kind of bring it to a final draft and make sure we've got good input from our team. And then hopefully by the first part of August, even towards the end of August, we've got a very good draft. We feel like it's final. Our board of directors have looked at it. We've had all our key stakeholders have agreed upon it. Staff has agreed upon it. And then we will share this out with the field. It will look different on how we'll share it out to the field. There's going to be multiple ways to get that out. We envision that at different LPC meetings. We envision that at different meetings for coaches. We'll divide that out and try to get it out to folks. Even if they want to come together for whole gatherings, that would be great. But we foresee us taking this out at the grassroots level. So overall, again, that's our timeline for going forward. Informational sessions right now. Stakeholders, we are inviting them, asking them to come forward if they'd like to join us. And then that team of stakeholders and staff will work on those targeted areas in March through May. And hopefully by June, we have a draft that we can start putting the actual strategic plan together. And then again, our goal would be to get that back out to all our key folks and then disseminate in August. So overall, that is our summary of our strategic plan and some highlights again. What I'm going to do is ask if we'll open it up to any questions or comments from the field and from the folks that are here tonight. And we're open to any ideas or suggestions that you might have.
Any questions that you have? We were talking a lot there, threw a lot at you, but any questions or anything that we can clarify?
All right. A-okay if you don't have any questions at this time. We certainly want to thank all of you for coming tonight. If you think of anything, or again, Ellen or Penny, if you are interested, let us know. If you're interested in serving, we'd love to have you on our teams. And so again, we say thank you for joining us tonight. We're very excited about the vision and the future for Special Olympics, and we're excited to get the next 50 years started. Right, Bill?
That's right. That's right. Oh.
All right. Thanks again, everyone, for attending. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Good
Thank you
night.
so much.